LFC Daytrippers, brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Good evening, welcome to Premier League Forecast. It's me, Chris Brackett, him, Luke. And today we've got two new guests. We've got John and we've got Harry. John is our Bournemouth fan and Harry's our Spurs fan. So we're going to have a good chat about this now. How are we doing, Luke?
Not too bad. It could be better, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse.
Could be a lot worse.
Snowed in. It could be snowed in, working from home.
I mean,
could be worse.
You could be sad having your worst ever defeat to your rival and then claiming it doesn't matter. You could be trying to.
Oh yeah.
You could be trying to live. Yeah, you could be trying to live that way, or you could be Romero who forgot how to tackle. Harry will come to that because I know you want to talk about that.
He's bringing his in the Dejan Lovren out.
Yeah, he was.
That was in there.
To cheer Harry up, let's talk about Arsenal. Had to go there, unfortunately. So we'll start the first game. Fulham versus Arsenal. So form guide wise, Fulham are 10th. And Arsenal are, let's say, third. They're basically joint top. Liverpool, City, and Arsenal are all same results. There's a minor goal difference thing. That's all. And then we'll see how we go from there. A few are saying, "Is Chris going blind with glasses on?" I am, yeah, because unfortunately, with I've got an eye infection, so unfortunately, I can't wear my contacts. So I've got to wear glasses, which is really annoying. So, Luke, Fulham versus Arsenal. I sort of feel this is a potential banana skin, this, because Arsenal have, I'm sorry, John, they had to come back against Bournemouth. They're having to do this a lot now. And me found out with Liverpool last year, comebacks are great when you get them, but they take an awful lot out of you. And after a while, you do feel it in the legs when you keep having to do comebacks. And I do wonder.
I think the luck runs out eventually. Like you go to the well so many times, you'll go there eventually, and then it'll be like, oh, it's gone dry. But I do see a potential banana skin. I think Arsenal did rotate in the Europa League. Didn't watch much of the game. They didn't look particularly great. I think they sort of limped across to get a draw. I thought Sporting were okay, but Fulham have been probably one of the surprises of the season. We all saw Marco Silva at Everton, how bad he was. Went down with Fulham, brought him straight back up, and I think they've done really, really well. I think Mitrovic has broken his curse of when he gets promoted, he doesn't really do very well.
Drops back
down, looks amazing.
Full honesty, pre-season we all said, well, Mitrovic, he's a bit like one of those Dwight Gale, Damari, great. They come up and they're going like, they're too good a striker for the Championship, but they never quite connect in the Premier League. And to be fair to me, I think his best season before this was like 10, 11 goals, which isn't bad. Yeah. But, it's not what you expect. This year, it's just, what can you say? He's been really good for them.
I think he's 13 Premier League goals already, but he has been out injured a lot. Like, he has spent quite a few games out injured, which is a slight concern for Fulham because he's their main man.
He is. I think he is back. I think he isn't down as injured, though, for...
It's not down as injured, but that's going to be a massive boost because, it's going to be an interesting game, a potential banana skin. But it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal go to the well again and find a bit of water there to pull off some sort of comeback.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, Harry, let's talk about your favourite team, Fulham. What's your sort of view of how they're doing? Unfortunately, how your bitter rivals are doing, which must hurt. Like,
yeah, it does. Trust me. No, they're doing really well. They're playing pretty football. Top of the league, getting the results, coming back. Sorry, John, me coming back. A perfect example against Bournemouth. I'm hoping eventually over time that luck will run out. I think Obviously it takes mentality, perhaps the quality to come back. But I think they have been, a bit lucky at times this season. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this is the same Man City team, for example, and they get time added on. So personally, I believe that they're riding by a bit of luck at the moment. I'm hoping it will fade out. I'm hoping Fulham can be a banana skin. Like you say, Fulham have been one of the surprise teams this season. The likes of Mitrovic has proved that he's capable and he's ready to play in the Premier League. He's got the standard. So I'm hoping Fulham can be that banana skin and end Arsenal's luck.
Yeah, I think Jonathan. I think Paulinho might be out for Arsenal, which I'll be honest, for Arsenal, Fulham, which is a big blow.
Yeah,
John, isn't it? Because Paulinho's been excellent for Fulham, but I think Arsenal got a few doubts for the weekend. I think Odegaard and Tierney have been out with illness. I don't know if they're back or not. And then Jesus probably should be on the bench. It was the first time I think he's played since the World Cup. And then Nketiah and Trossard, I think, are doubts, but maybe. So they've got a couple of little doubts around them. But I would probably say the best player for them this year has been Odegaard. He's just been a different level for them.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of people that would agree with you on that one. I think that there's a number that would probably say he's arguably the best player in the Premier League this season. That's obviously one that's up for huge debate, depending on who you talk to. But he has been very impressive. I mean, they are without Nketiah and Jesus, so that one's going to be an interesting one. Probably Martinelli playing up front again, given the Trossard's out as well. Paulinho's a huge miss for Fulham. He is just so important to them. It's like we were mentioning beforehand how Newcastle's midfield without Guimaraes is a bit meh. Without Paulinho, that Fulham midfield is half of what it is, because he's like prime Kante for them almost. He's two players in one when he was at his best. So I would say that Arsenal's record against Fulham is pretty darn good. I think if I look, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins out of the last 8 against them, with a draw being the other one. So unfortunately, it's not necessarily on the cards that Arsenal are gonna drop anything at this one. But Fulham could pick anything out of the bag, and Mitrovic is, now that he's got a manager that actually plays to his strengths, because he had Scott Parker, the car crash that he is at the moment, was his manager before.
We'll get to
it. So he's, Mitrovic just wasn't really being played in his best way, but now basically it's just feed him and he will score. And that's basically what got them out of the Championship, and it's what's going to keep them up and maybe even get them in Europe this season.
Yeah, I mean, Luke, that'd be a big achievement for Fulham, get them back in. I mean, the last time in Europe, they got, was it Europa League final?
Yeah, with
Roy Hodgson.
With our favourite manager.
That's all of our dark day. Won't come to him. But to be fair, to get Fulham to a European final is an impressive feat, because
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they knocked out Juventus and all sorts on that run, and they had some good players. But Fulham were always a side that always just seemed to be a bit of a yo-yo club when they came up. They come up, stay around for a little bit, and they go down again. There's been no danger of that at any point. You've got to give
they were
Silver a lot of credit for
bottom 3 probably. Like they were probably most people's bottom 3 when they came up. Like, Marco Silva, Fulham, straight back down, but they have proven everyone wrong. And I think a player that's been key for Fulham recently has been that Solomon from Shakhtar that's not been able to play in the league till recently. And he seems to be scoring a carbon copy goal every other week. He just cuts inside on his left, cuts inside on his right, just bends it in the bottom corner. So he's a great player for them. And I think he'll be key as well. He'll have Mitrovic to play off, so it wouldn't surprise me if he scores again this weekend.
Oh, look, I think mentioning the name Roy Hodgson seems
sorry.
I think it's really upset the chat. Right. Hey, that's what we could do in the summer league when we've got no football. Should we just do a show about the Roy Hodgson 6 months? Can you imagine the fun we could have with that? Oh, God.
Oh, no.
That's a very dark song, that, isn't it? Oh, God. So, Luke, what score are you going to go for this one, then? You're probably going to be anyway.
1-1.
Oh, okay.
1-1.
Harry, what are you going to go for?
2-2, and I think Fulham will be probably happy with the point, considering where Arsenal are in the league. Probably Teta, to be fair. 2-2.
Yeah, I've got 2-2 as well. John, what have we got for you?
I was actually going to go 3-1 Arsenal, but I think I'm sort of being pulled back a bit by some of your sort of pessimisms for Arsenal. And with their midweek game, I think I'll probably go with 2-1 instead. I don't think Arsenal will win.
Cool. Kev's in for the Roy Hodgson show, Luke. We'll get it going. Oh dear, you got to laugh, haven't you? We can laugh now.
I got offered tickets to go and see West Brom at home under Hodgson. Didn't go in the end, and we lost. So I'm glad we didn't now.
You just won't pay for it, would you? Bonks has gone for 2-2. Avo's gone 2-0 to Arsenal, and Red Steve has gone 2-1 Arsenal. So a few more back in John's prediction. And Kev's gone 1-0 Fulham.
Yeah, go on, Kev.
Go on, Kev.
Anything to see Mikel Arteta go mad on the touchline. He's like watching Pep with hair on the touchline.
Has anyone ever seen Harry? You'll definitely probably won't remember that. Captain Scarlet. Don't you think he looks like one? If you don't know, Google Captain Scarlet. He looks like Captain Scarlet, which is just a very weird looking man. Anyway, so let's go to the other side of the title race. We've got Palace versus City. So this will be an interesting one. It's at Palace. If it was at the Etihad, Palace might advance the chances because Palace's record at the Etihad is really good. Yeah. But City's record at Palace is excellent. And Palace, unfortunately, at the moment, form guide for the last 6 games is 0 wins, 4 draws, 2 losses. And they barely on the brink. And they barely scored. And to be fair to Patrick Vieira, he said himself, when they said, like, are you worried about it? He goes, yeah, why would I not be? We haven't won. We haven't won since they come back from the World Cup. So I can understand the precedent. I mean, is it just because the young side, Luke, and they've hit a bit of a wall, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe the lack of investment, maybe in the forward areas, because let's be honest, none of the forwards have really hit at all. I think Mateta's got, is it either 0 or like 2 league goals this season? Edouard's not really set the league on alight. Zaha's been out injured and he's practically got 1 foot out the door. There's no way he's signing a new deal. And there's no oomph up front for Palace. It's sort of very blunt. They've got a good defense, good midfield, but when it gets to the forward line, Elise is good, Eze's good, but there's no killer threat up front.
Bonkers is asking, is Zaha back? I had a quick Google of injuries. He's not down as injured, so he might be back, but Decore's out suspended, which is
that's massive.
That's going to be honest, John. The one thing you need when you're playing Man City is you need all your best midfielders available because you don't get much of the ball. And Decore is what they need is a destroyer and someone to get, try and get the ball to the Elises of the world. But that feels like a massive blow for Palace.
Yeah, especially. I don't know how long Vieira's got left. If this form continues, I think he'll be out of a job within the next few weeks, which is mental because there's some other managers that deserve to be sacked way before him, but he looks like that he's on the brink at the moment to losing his job.
John, how do you see the Palace situation at the moment?
It's kind of mad. They're the only team in the league that haven't got a win this year in 2023. And when you consider last year, I expected Patrick Vieira to be another instance of Palace bringing in a manager and it going completely wrong, and he's out the door within like a few months. Who was it? Was it De Boer? Another. To be honest, I was perfectly willing. I really thought Vieira would be another De Boer, and then turns out he did really well. And they took a huge risk, got rid of all their experience, brought in a ton of young players, brought in some fantastic youngsters from the Championship in Eze, Olise, who as someone that was watching the Championship at the time was going like, okay, this is some sensible stuff if it works out. And then they just not kicked on. It's, I just think of when Bournemouth went down, we went from the season before we went down to having a front 4 of Wilson, King, Brooks and Fraser that all just absolutely stormed their way through games. And then we basically lost 3 of them. And Crystal Palace have gone from a really exciting front line to almost all of them barely performing, and you're not going to get anything. They're on a pretty quick charge down the table at the moment, and it is really worrying for them.
Usually, the one team that looks safe, and then they just start dropping like a stone. I remember Brentford last season; they were just dropping. Ericsson came through the door, stemmed the tide completely, and then kept them up. But Palace in January, did they make any transfers of note apart from Butland going to United on loan? No forward threat.
No, I think we had a Palace fan on last week, and he said, he goes, the whole Butland thing, he said, just made no sense. Don't even know why he loaned him out. Why are we helping someone? Didn't make any sense though. I mean, because I remember Reading doing this a few years ago, where they were mid-table, no one worried about them all season, and they got to the last game of the season, you went, oh shit, Redmen at the bottom three, they went down. It was like, but no one talked about them all season. I think they'll have enough to stay up, but they need to find that win from somewhere. But Harry, it's Man City. They feel like they're going on one of their runs again, which, as a Liverpool fan, we've seen this run before.
This is not
it's not fun, and it's just like a metronome. And can you see Palace really causing City any problems?
I can see Palace definitely causing City problems. It's whether they can put the ball in the back of the net or not. Because in recent games, I've watched them recently. They play really well, but just can't, for some reason, put the ball in the net. I mean, I thought we were bad at putting the ball in the net. But if you watch Palace, I mean, it must be really frustrating to be, a Palace fan. You've got exciting players like Elise, Eze. Maybe part of it's Vieira, doesn't quite know his best 11. Got lots of players in there, similar positions, perhaps can't get them all together. I think they've got a strong backline as well. Whether I think the recruitment at Palace has been good. There hasn't been much investment, obviously. I think that's understandable, for someone like Crystal Palace. So it's interesting, but, they're not safe. I think they sit 6-7 points above the relegation zone. If the form continues and they're in trouble. Someone like Bournemouth, someone like Forest, only got to win a couple of games, and all of a sudden they're in big trouble. City, I don't think they're the same this season. People say, they've only lost a couple or whatever, but I don't think they were watching the same City team. I think it's a bit of a City team going through a transition. And every City game they play, obviously me being a Spurs fan, at the moment I want City to win every game. But at the moment, every time City go into a game, there's always that possibility, I think, that they're going to lose. And Palace go into it with bad form and really want to start their season, and try and push for a potential top 10 place, to certainly pull themselves away from the relegation zone. So they can really start their season now and really, get things up and running. For City, it's just a fact of not falling apart.
Yeah, I'll stick with you then, Harry. What score prediction are you going to go for?
Despite saying that, I'm going to go 2-0 for City, and I think they'll dominate possession. Typical of that, but yeah, I think they'll get the job done. But I think Palace will cause problems. But I think it'll be the same old story for them. They can't just put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, we all do this too, don't we, Lou? We try to be nice and balanced, and we try that and go, but then City win. Yeah, you can't really say anything else.
Remember we did it last season that City went to Palace. Yeah, City gonna do this, City gonna do that, and then I was like, City's gonna be a draw, and then they drew. So
yeah,
what
you got? So you go for a draw?
No, I'm going 4-0 City.
To be honest, I've got 4-0 City. I think
Palace are currently 6 points above, 6 points ahead of Bournemouth, who's bottom of the league.
Yeah,
5
points outside the relegation zone.
John's sat there. Don't dig him out while he's sat there. He might have come back. John, what have you got for this game?
I'm going to complete the set because we've had 1-0, 1-0, 2-0, and 4-0, and I think it's going to be 3-0. So
there we go.
Luke mentioned it was a 0-0 draw last season, which I'd forgotten about in this fixture. But I just think that Palace just are not as strong, and it doesn't really matter what City do when they turn up at the moment. They're just steamrolling most teams, and Palace are not in good enough form to stop the tide whatsoever.
Okay, in the chat, John Summers has got 2-0 City, Lazlo's got 4-0 City, Kev's got 2-1 City, but thinks they'll have to work for it. I think someone did have it. I think we did. Oh, we go. Bonkers has got, if Zaha's playing, I'll go 2-1 Palace. There we go. There's one Palace results. There we go. Right.
He did play last game. He did play the last game. Yeah, the goal ruled out for offside. Cool. He did play the last game.
Right, let's do the quick fire round then. So just literally score predictions, nothing else, and then we'll have a lovely chat about Spurs then. Leeds versus Brighton. Luke.
Brighton 2-0.
John.
Brighton 2-0. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Harry.
Brighton 2-1.
I've got 1-1. Just to be contrary. I'll stick with you, Harry. Leicester versus Chelsea.
I'm going to go... Whose stadium's it at?
Leicester's.
Oh, I'm going to go 1-1.
I've got 1-1 as well. John, what have you got?
I'm going to go with the form, and I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea.
Form's a very loose term, I would say, with Chelsea at the moment. John, what are you
Two wins from two, you know.
Yeah, Luke, what are you going for?
2-1 Leicester.
Oh, God. Right, Man United Southampton, I've just put 2-0 Man United, but they'll probably make hard work of it. Luke?
3-2 United.
John?
4-1.
Harry?
3-0 United.
There we go. I'll sit with you, Harry. West Ham versus Villa.
At London Stadium.
Yes, that's London Stadium, yeah.
I can go 0-0.
0-0.
Oh, you took the score.
So Luke's also got 0-0. John, what have you got?
I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay. I'm going to go 1-1, and it'll probably be 2 own goals because it'll just be absolute turgid. Right. We're going to go Newcastle Wolves, but John's going to go last because he's told me a brilliant stat about this one. Luke.
What Newcastle Wolves?
Yeah.
Is this a quick fire one?
Yeah, it is, mate. Yeah.
0-0.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to talk about that game? It's going to be last on the telly, this one. Harry?
2-0 Newcastle. I think they're going to get back on track, as much as I hate to admit it.
Yeah. John?
I'm going to go, speaking of form on this one, last 15 times this fixture's been played out, 9 of the 15 have been 1-1 draws. So 60%, 60% of their last 15 games have been 1-1 draws. So I'm going to follow that and go 1-1, as I believe Chris is probably going to as well.
I'm going to go 1-1 because when I heard that stat, I went, that'll do. Because I was literally going to flip a coin who's going to win that game, to be honest. So, I mean, Luke, our favourite team, Everton, home to Brentford. Brentford, who are 4th in the form guide for the last 6 games.
Brentford 2-1. Everton's still going down. Nothing. No one's going to tell me otherwise. Everton are not going down.
Please.
Yeah.
I need them to take one of those 3 spots.
Yeah. I'll be honest, them and Leeds have got horrendous.
They are so bad.
I think Bournemouth have gone through their rough period now of fixtures.
Yeah. I'm sure
compared
for the most part.
I think the next 3 or 4
period.
Yeah, because of Everton's fixtures look terrible. But to be honest, Leeds don't look much better. Harry, what have you got for Everton Brentford?
I actually think Everton will win. I think they're going to end Brentford's unbeaten run and go 1-0 Everton.
Oh, Harry, come on.
You do so well.
You do so well.
Leave the room, Harry.
I don't help either of you.
Play to the crowd. Come on. I mean, to be fair, that is what kept them up, wasn't it, last year, Luke? It was wins at home, but we probably didn't expect them to
wins at home. Pickford deciding that now I want to put my England form into my Everton.
Listen. Leave Harry alone. We're not going to mute him just because he said an Everton win. He won't do it again. It's fine. Next time we have him on, he won't predict Everton wins. It's fine. John's going to now do anything. You're going to go 3-0 Everton now.
No, I can't let Everton win any games at the moment. They need to
so you'll go far on this pod, John. You'll go far on this pod.
I mean, I was wearing a nice sort of like casual Bournemouth shirt, official Bournemouth shirt, before coming onto this, but I realised it's blue, and I thought, oh crap, I've got to change that. So I'll put this lovely home number on. But I do think, Brentford longest unbeaten run in the division at the moment, and I don't see that ending away to Brentford. I would love Brentford to just thrash them, but I'm actually going to go. Actually, you know what? I am going to go with a Brentford win. I'm going to go 2-1 because I think Tony will certainly get at least one of those goals.
Yeah, I've spoken to Ivan Toney. He's told me it's a 2-0 Brentford win, so we're sorted with that. So we'll move on from there before it gets getting any more trouble. So, right, that's the quick fire round. Right, let's talk about Tottenham versus Forest. But first, Harry, first time you've been on the show, let's have a little talk about Tottenham then, because it's been a bit of a rocky few games. I mean, in terms of form-wise in the league, it's 4 wins, 2 losses, so it's not horrendous form by any chance, but going out of Europe with a bit of a whimper. I mean, your centre-back had a bit of a brain fart, which didn't help. And then your Somersani is now kicking off that he's not playing enough games. I mean, he's not been fit. And when he has been on the pitch, I don't think he scored a goal yet, which I would sort of indicate you don't tend to get picked if you're not scoring goals as a striker. But maybe I'm wrong. But obviously, you watch Spurs every week. What's your sort of feel of how Spurs are doing at the moment?
Yeah, sadly, I do watch Spurs every week, and I don't think that's a good thing. The club's in a mess, let's face it. Last 9 days have seen us exit the FA Cup, lose to Wolves, and get knocked out of the Champions League. I mean, that has got to be the worst 9 days we've had of the season. The only thing we've got going in terms of consistency this season is our inconsistency, and that's the reality, and that's not acceptable. You beat Man City at home 1-0, you beat Chelsea at home, you win 2 London derbies in a row, West Ham, Chelsea, then you go and lose, to Sheffield United in the FA Cup, and you think, why? And you can't score a single goal against Milan with 100 minutes, and we're talking about a Milan team that isn't the same, and there's let so many goals in. They always let goals in, but we can't score a goal past them. However much added time, I think we could have kept playing all night and we wouldn't have scored. Lots of problems at the club. You've got a manager who won't commit his long-term future. Personally, don't want to see him stay. You've got a chairman who can't run a football club, only can run the business side of things. And you've got players kicking off like Richarlison, who could potentially be facing a ban. I think Percy's come out and spoke the truth, but I'd like to see less words and more action for him, because when he has been given a chance, he hasn't stepped up, and I can't really defend him from that stick I get from rival fans anymore, because he's been disappointing. Not a flop, but disappointing to say the least. So the club's in a mess, really. That's the reality. And I can't see it changing.
Okay. What's he facing a ban for?
Well, I read this morning that what he said potentially about Conte on the club, what he could be facing a ban, but Conte came back, I think, and answered that this afternoon, and because Conte said that he was talking about talking about his season, but in reality, if you listen to it, I think Richarlison's talking about his individual season, and it's clear he's not happy with Conte. Conte twisted that to make it talking about himself. It's a bit of a falling out there. Can't see him playing, but as I said, the club's in a mess. Whatever way you look at it, top to bottom, things need to change.
I mean, it's easy to say, it's hindsight. Were you happy when you got Conte, or were you like? I'm just curious, because to me he's just Mourinho Mark II. That's how I've always seen him. And listen, nothing wrong with that, but that's what I think he is.
They're very similar, that's for sure. No, I've got to be honest here. I was happy when we got Conte. I looked at Mourinho and thought perhaps he's just a bit past his best. Conte at the time, fresh, won that title with Inter. I thought, I can part with this football if we're going to win trophies. And last season, looked like a good appointment, getting us top 4. I don't know how everything went our way, if you like. We got top 4, and I think that's a good achievement. This season, it's like we're going backwards. So inconsistent, can't put the ball in the net. And when you have what was meant to be one of the best front threes in Europe in Kane, Son, and Kulusevski, Son, Kulusevski can't score, can't take on a player. So, there's loads of problems. Trust me, but definitely happy when we appointed Conte. But now I'll be happy, the day he goes, fed up with excuses, fed up with the football, the results, blaming others, and his stubbornness and arrogance is still an issue.
Yeah, Red Steve, I always steal everyone's chats. That's why I try and sound good, mate. Red Steve's very upset because I said Mourinho too, which he's claiming the credit for. The other one is Danjuma, who you took off Everton's medical bed, which was quite an impressive move. I've got to be fair. It was literally having his medical and walked out. Went out.
It's clever.
I've seen enough here. Has he done much? Has he been involved much? Because it seems to have been that involved. Because Luke, we saw Danjuma when we played Villarreal in the Champions League semi-finals. He's a good player. He's direct, and he does cause people problems. A bit inconsistent, but I'm a little surprised I haven't seen much of him. But I think when does he play?
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's a club signing. So I think it's a typical Levy signing, last minute panic, spend no money on loan. It's a club signing, it's so Tottenham-like, but it's a clever signing, a good player, clever business, Levy can have that. But at the same time, he hasn't been played. And listen, this is the thing that frustrates me most and probably frustrate me, for the rest of the season. We're going out of the Champions League with 7 minutes to go, right? You've got Lucas, you've got Danjuma, especially on the bench. Kulusevski comes off. Who does he bring on? Davinson Sanchez. When you need a goal when you're going out of the Champions League, you don't need 5 defenders when you're about to exit a competition, right? If you put that Milan defence under pressure, it crumbles. 20 seconds in, the defender had a miscommunication. They both headbutted each other. That's a team that isn't in sync, if you like. There's a few issues you could see within the game. They weren't at it, and they weren't great at all. All we had to do, it may sound easy the way, I suppose, but all you've got to do is put the ball in the back of the net. We hardly created any chances. You know, and the chances we've just wasted. It's really, really poor. That first half we played, the team were 1-0 up, but lots of problems. But yeah, for me, Conte right now is certainly, whether he's the main problem or not, he's certainly a big problem. And someone like Danjuma deserves more minutes. And you've got to try him. When things don't work, you've got to try him. I would have chucked him in against Milan. I said that. I would chuck him in this weekend against Forest. But Conte, arrogant, stubborn, doesn't accept his mistakes. It'd be the same team. You just know it. So predictable.
John, so from a neutral's perspective, from the outside looking at, how are you sort of seeing Spurs, because Harry said we'll talk about Spurs, but Forest as well. I mean, we'll talk about Forest because they were probably also one of the favourites to struggle more than they have done. Actually, I think that's to rebuild the whole squad. They've actually done pretty well. But what's your sort of view of Spurs? I mean, they're going into this game, no Basuma, no Lloris, no Sessegnon. Unfortunately for them, Bentancur's out for the season, which I think is a big loss. And I think there's a few doubts around it. Perisic and Emerson. I think did Perisic go off injured in the midweek game?
I'm not too sure about who went off for what there, but I mean, yeah, Perisic's not in there. Bentancur's the massive one, I would say, based on sort of what we've seen this season. Certainly, when Spurs played Bournemouth, Bentancur was basically the entire catalyst as to how they came back from 2-0 down. In that game as well. But yes, it's really, really kind of odd, the conversation around Spurs at the moment as a neutral, because I think pretty much the entire season, Tottenham have been talked about as a bit of a nutcase club. Stuff's going wrong here, left, right, and centre. There's no joined up thinking. There's issues with transfers. There's the likes of Jed Spence. There's Danjuma now coming in and blah, blah, blah. And it's all doom and gloom. How on earth are they fourth? Like, if it's like any other club that was going through a disaster case, such as apparently the Tottenham are going through, and yet you're still in fourth place, which admittedly, what I do understand of Spurs fans is kind of like, okay, fourth is nice and all. We've done that enough times now. Can we actually win something? And that's the funny thing with regards to your last two permanent managers, are Mourinho and Conte. Like almost the stereotypical bring them in, get something done now kind of manager.
And they can't do that.
And it's not happened. And nothing has changed. Literally nothing has changed. So what I do worry about Tottenham going forward in terms of next season is Son has completely fallen off a cliff. And Harry Kane desperately wants to go somewhere to win a trophy. I would imagine it's going to be a complete system reset next season because Conte's not going to stick around. Harry Kane's probably going to kick up a fuss. If Son can't perform anymore, then he's probably going to be out the door soon. I don't know what Spurs are going to be in 6 months' time. That's kind of the weird thing for me about them.
I think there's also, isn't there a clause in Kulusevski's contract that if Spurs don't make top four this year, he can go away he can leave for a set fee as well. I think there's that fear.
No, I don't think it's mandatory. So it's mandatory obligation to buy if they get top four. If it's not if they don't get top four, then it's an option, not obligation. Yeah.
Which then means somebody else can come in and get him. And to be fair, he's a very good player, so that's good. Outside looking in, I would assume the concern around Spurs fans is yes, they are fourth, partly helped by the likes of Liverpool Chelsea. Liverpool Chelsea both had shitters. Yeah. But Liverpool were, I think, we were about 12 points behind Spurs. We were quite some distance behind Spurs.
You finished above us.
But we have an opportunity to get level with you. And I think maybe that's where Spurs fans, I would assume, are a bit like, we've given ourselves the cushion and we've sort of given everyone a bit of hope again. Whereas what we want to do is, I'm sure Spurs fans were thinking, I'd rather we were chasing down United for third and then we're going, we might get third. Not just aim for fourth, because the problem with just aiming for fourth is it's a tightrope to go on. And look, Luke, we've been there where we said as long as we get fourth, we'll be okay. And then you realise, you probably should aim a bit higher because then, if you feel it's just short of second or third, then you'll get the top four anyway. So I can understand that. I suppose Kev put it up before. You did also associate Spurs with being entertaining to watch, and they're not. Which, listen, I grew up with Gerard Houllier. So, Gerard Houllier football was not exciting. It was productive and it won us trophies, but it wasn't exciting. But, Luke, if you were outside looking in, say if Conte goes in the summer, who would you put into Spurs?
When he goes in the summer.
Yeah, so who would you put into Spurs?
Oh, who would you put into Spurs? Well, that's the thing.
I think Kev has a good suggestion. To be fair,
yeah, Thomas Frank.
Yeah,
and Harry was talking about pre-show.
Thank you.
Pochettino should not get Poch back. Don't wreck what a good thing you have. I think he's still going to have the same issues than before. The squad's older. I think the front, if the Spurs don't get top 4, I can see the whole front 3 leaving. Kulusevski going somewhere else. Kane probably go to United, and Son will go back to Germany. So they need a whole new front line. I just,
in some ways, is that what he? That would give them the money to do a rebuild.
They need it to cash it in. Like, to be honest, if Levy wasn't so stubborn, they should have probably cashed in on Kane last year, where the 120 million was there ready. City were ready to pay it, but Levy got a little bit greedy, and I was like, okay, give me 150, and City was like, no, thank you. We'll just get Haaland next year for half the price. So I don't know who's going to walk into Spurs, because I just don't see a right fit. I don't see a right fit that's going to put up with Levy. Whoever comes in is going to need to tell Levy, I want Paratici out the door. I need another sporting director that's not a crook. And I need to, as the new sporting director, needs to be running it. And I don't need to see your interference around. I've got a feeling that Levy's wants to be involved all the time. And I do think that does get on managers' nerves. So,
yeah. I mean, I suppose in my head, Thomas Frank is what Pochettino was when he joined Spurs from Southampton. That fresh, up-and-coming, new ideas manager. Now at Brentford, he has excellent recruitment.
Yeah.
So it's whether he can bring that data-driven recruitment that he has at Brentford to Spurs, because then it helps.
He's going to be allowed
to. That's now listen, Thomas Frank's a very strong character. I mean, he may not want to leave Brentford, to be fair, because Brentford's going well there. But if you're Thomas Frank, that's probably what you say as part of the deal is, this comes with me. If it doesn't, a la what Potter tried to do when he left Brighton, and not all of it's gone to Chelsea, which is probably
I can see Levy going for the big name Enrique, trying to get Tuchel, and it's going to go down in flames. Like, he's going to go down. I can see that.
I mean, to be fair,
I don't think so.
Spurs growing up.
I mean, if you've done Mourinho, you've done Conte.
Like, he's not going to do much.
Sorry, but as I mentioned, it's like, at the end of this season, it's going to be as much as we mentioned off camp, or I think possibly mentioned before about Man City's like kind of going through a transition season. The idea that Man City are going through a transition, it frankly is, I think, insulting to the term transition when you've got a striker that you brought in scoring 28 goals already this season. Yes, they're playing a bit different, whatever. Tottenham will be going through a big transition at the next season, I think, with some big names going out the door. Older players need to be moved on, and you need to be getting fresh players in. The thing is with, say, Thomas Frank bringing the recruitment with him, that's not a Frank recruitment. That's Brentford's recruitment. They're not letting that go anywhere. So it's about Tottenham now bring themselves into the modern age in terms of recruitment? Because I think I don't know about, from the outside looking in, Harry, Tottenham's recruitment looks like it's gone backwards over the last half a decade. So can they bring themselves now into a little bit more data-driven? Can they, if you bring Thomas Frank in, you've got to give him the players that he can do something with. And, maybe you make 150 mil selling Tottenham and selling Kane and Son. Can you then bring in 8 good youngsters for a Frank, or even if Poch came back, just someone that can take a project and push something forward with it? Because whatever you tried with Mourinho and Conte, it hasn't worked, and you've got to start again.
Yeah,
but I think. Sorry, you go, Harry. Go.
You sure? Yeah, sorry if you don't mind. Just quickly jump onto that. Thomas Frank, I think, has done a fantastic job at Brentford. I think he's massively overachieving with what he's got. Don't get me wrong, Brentford's, the way they recruit, they invest, is fantastic what they do with Brentford. They're all in a different way. But you've got someone like Brighton, who I think also their recruitment's amazing. So perhaps, you look at someone like De Zerbi as well. But Thomas Frank would be my number one. I think the investment, this is where I have a lack of respect, if you like, for Conte. I think he's, whether he's been backed or not, he's certainly had that money there. For example, we're talking, includes add-ons, like 150 million, for example. I think the recruitment at this club, and has been for a very long time under Levy, has been shocking. But whoever comes in has got to deal with someone in Daniel Levy who is difficult, clever businessman. I've said on many podcasts before, fantastic businessman, and I admire him, the board, Enoch, for that. But when he comes to football, he hasn't got a clue what to do. And as I said, you've got someone like Paratici who's in trouble in Italy. He hasn't been seen recently. There's so many, whether it's players, whether it's football director, manager, chairman, there's so much uncertainty. So, with this Tottenham team, as inconsistent as we are, we just don't know where we're going to be. It's a massive problem. Players, in particular Kane, you can't blame him if he's going to move on. Right now, I'd take the money. I don't know if we get it for him, but 80, 90 million, if we can get that in the summer, fantastic, cash in on it. Kane's a player who, for me, deserves to win a trophy every season, wherever it's at. It won't be whether it was at Tottenham, whether it's at Liverpool, Man United, abroad. He deserves to be, for me anyway, winning a trophy every season. And Levy, the club, I think, have let him down. So I respect him. As long as he doesn't go Chelsea, Arsenal, I will respect him. I think he want to stay in the Premier League, beat Shearer's record, understandably. But he's broken Tottenham's all-time record goal scorer. What was he hanging around with Tottenham for, apart from the lifestyle? And it must be something outside of football, because what's keeping him at Tottenham? I hate to say it as a Spurs fan, but why would you want to be at Spurs when you can achieve a lot more and win so many more trophies? And that's the reality. The club have let him down. Levy's let him down. They should hang their heads in shame. But we'll never get that apology either, but it's completely off the subject.
Yeah. I think the other thing is...
He'll be wearing the red of Manchester United next season. You can see
think so. Perfect replacement.
Style.
Weghorst, I can't see him be their striker next season. I hate to admit it. I imagine it a lot. Kane in Man United shirt makes so much sense. Weghorst out the door, I don't think is working and will ever work for them. It just makes so much sense. Another one that I fear, is Chelsea. They come in and they're going to throw money at it. And I don't want him to go to Chelsea. That's not good. Every Tottenham fan was saying we don't want that. But Chelsea, Todd Bowley shows, he's got that ambition. If they come in, whether they will or not, and say 150 million for Kane, I mean, Levy looks at that money. He's not going to say no, is he? He puts money before the club, profit for glory, as we like to say. He's not going to turn that down. So I do have that worry, that Chelsea come in and pay that big price, because all they need for me, Chelsea, is number 9, and they become title contenders again. Certainly in the talk.
My gut feeling is I think Kane's missed his boat. I think he's staying at Spurs because I think he's missed his boat. And Kev's put it in the chat as well. I think United are all in for De Jong from Barca. And the talk is United, they're very FFP tight. So
yeah, they are. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I
keeping the Glazers.
Yes. Well, we will see. We will see. So John, the other side of the fixture, Forest had to bring in, pretty much rebuild a whole new squad, which at the start of summer looked bizarre. When you looked into it, it was most of that squad that got promoted were all on loan or at the end of contract. So it was a big rebuild job. I mean, this is an opportunity for Spurs, I would say, because Forest have got 8 out injured and 2 more that are big doubts. So I sort of feel Forest have done well with what they've had to do. Cooper's a good manager, but do you think this is a step too far? I mean, their away form in the last 6 isn't fantastic, and Spurs away is still a difficult away game.
Dr. Tottenham.
Yes, this what do we call it? The Jed Spence derby, the Serge Aurier derby.
Serge Aurier, forgot he was there.
Yeah. There's probably at least 3 others, because I think Forest have got probably every single team has got they've got an X from basically every team in the Premier League. I think at this point probably no, but it's kind of odd. I almost think that if it had been any other season, Forest would still be in the relegation zone at this point. And I think, and I'd say this because the World Cup break would have been so huge for Steve Cooper. Because there's no way that side still gels without that good month and a half to really sort of nail down exactly what he wants and exactly what he can get out of that team. Now, admittedly, they've since gone and signed 4 more players since then. Wood, Shelby, and a couple of others.
Keylor
Navas. That's ridiculous. Keylor Navas. See, Bournemouth got a lot of. Got a stick for Zaniolo being linked with us for us sort of being able to maybe outbid Milan or whatever. Keylor Navas going to Forest is kind of outrageous as well, to be honest. But to be fair, if you can do it, then go for it.
I mean,
but
fair play
to
to Navas, because it would the easiest thing to do would be I'll just sit on PSG's bench. Nice and
I mean,
easy.
yeah.
I'll do it.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
So
I
may
mean,
say
he's
he's an
one of the best
upgrade
shot
from Dean
stoppers
Henderson.
you've ever seen in the Champions League, to be fair. But
True.
I just think that sort of like that additional time that maybe if Forest hadn't had that, if it had been any other season, if you hadn't had that Winter World Cup, I do think they would be struggling more than they are. And instead, they've really picked up since the turn of the year. I do think that anyone that saw Morgan Gibbs White in the Championship is now listening to everyone giving him a ton of credit and going, funny that. It may well have been 40 million or whatever it ends up being with add-ons, but Morgan Gibbs White's a hell of a player. He's always been a hell of a player, and he's probably their main man to really look after. As much as Brennan Johnson gets a lot of credit, I'm still not entirely sure exactly what Brennan Johnson is as a sort of an attacking player. He has good games, he has a lot of bad games. He's kind of, is he a winger, is he a striker? But there's so much quality in that squad. It's a mid-table quality squad with players from all over Europe that are easily good enough to keep that team up. And at this point, and I really rate Steve Cooper as a manager. I really like him as a manager. If they don't stay up, it'll be a disaster, I think, for them. They've definitely not enough to pull away, and I think they will end up probably, 14th, 15th, pretty safe.
Cool. Right, stick with you then, John. What score prediction are you going for?
Is it at Forest or at Spurs?
At Spurs. At Spurs.
At Spurs. 0-0.
0-0. Exciting game then, Luke.
Sorry,
That's
Harry.
Tottenham's MO, isn't it?
Forest.
Exciting games.
1-0 Forest.
1-0
Forest. If
Forest.
Forest get the first goal, that place is going to get toxic.
Yeah.
The only reason he's saying that, Harry, is because you said Everton would win.
Yeah.
He's getting his own back in.
Away. Liverpool could
There
be
you go. You can have that.
before Spurs play. So,
yeah, but Luke, we also want people to come back on the pod, you know. Do you know what I mean? We can't be scared.
A big if.
Yeah.
So we play.
Harry, what score are you going for?
As much as I've been frustrated with us the last 9 days, we're talking about, Forest team that struggle to score goals and pick up points away from home. Having said that, it'd only be Tottenham, wouldn't it, to let them go and score 2 or 3 and win the game. Not that confident. I'll go with a 2-0 win, but if we lose that, Conte's got to go. For me, he's got to go anyway, but I think, emergency meeting will be called after if we lose that, and the place can easily become toxic Saturday. There's already, for example, there's usually about 59, at least 60, maybe even 61,000 every game that go turn up. There's a lot of tickets on exchange as we're speaking right now. The stadium, I'm not going to say it's be empty, but it's not going to be as full or as loud as it usually is. But I feel sorry for the fans. The last 9 days, like the atmosphere the Milan game was fantastic. I was there, and the players did not score a goal in 100 minutes, and to look and play like the team were 1-0 up. It's ridiculous. But no, I do think we'll get the job done. 2-0.
In the chat, we've got Kev Ball's got 2-1 Forest. Box has got 1-1. Kev and Laszlo have both gone 2-1 Spurs. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Reclaim's got 3-1 Forest. I think he's just on the wind up.
Please don't.
I can't see Forest scoring.
No.
So before we go on to the final game, which is Bournemouth versus Liverpool, please don't forget our charity this year, which is breast cancer awareness. So we've got 12 Dublin ladies that are going to be running the Dublin Marathon. We're trying to get them to raise 20,000. So I think we're over the 3K mark now. So details are in the description below. So if you can donate, please donate. If you can't donate, so no times are tough, then just share the link through WhatsApp groups, work groups. You never know who it touches. Unfortunately, cancer touches far too many people as it is. So let's try and get them as close to their target as we can. So all the details are in the description below, and it's on our pin tweet. So keep an eye on that. Right, John, Bournemouth versus Liverpool then. So this is the end of your horror run, as you would. I was doing it on your pod last night. You told me it was a pretty horrific run of fixtures you've had. You've had City, you've had City, you've had Arsenal, you got us. So this is the end of the run. But I think you said last time we played you, it was I think you were on a similar run of tough fixtures. The fixture was just a bit mean to you, really. But how are you feeling going into this? Because both have got a few missing out, haven't they, for the weekend?
Yeah, you're right. Our match weeks 2, 3, 4 was the exact same run as this. It was City, then Arsenal, then Liverpool. So we've had this exact run twice in a season. So not the nicest run for a newly promoted side. We do have a few out, but we had a few out against City and Arsenal as well. We've got a few that are touch and go. Probably 2 or 3 that arguably could be first team starters. You've got Jefferson Lerma, who is a doubt, who's midfield enforcer. Got Marcus Tavernier, who's been a huge player for us this season. Hama Traore, who's just come in recently as a newer player and looks really tidy. And it's a bad thing to be missing him, along with a few others, including a captain. Well, actually, I say captain. Lloyd Kelly actually had the captaincy taken off him recently. But some maybe sort of roughly 3, maybe 4 first teamers, which is a bit of a worry. But that didn't stop us from getting 2-0 up against Arsenal. So it's going to be a very different game to that one, though. I'm pretty.
Yeah. You love an early goal as well, don't you?
I don't think we do. Not this season. We used to.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe. When we had Eddie Howe, we were famous for our fast starts. And to be fair, this set piece is probably the second one in 3 years. We're going to have see a lot of teams try and copy our kickoff routine, just like we did the one against Fulham a couple seasons ago. But it's just been scoring goals altogether that's been Bournemouth's problem for a large chunk of this season. We spent a good time. I think the first 6 games back after the World Cup break, we scored 1 goal in the league. It's just not good enough. We've won 1 game since the return of the year away at Wolves, which was kind of unexpected. But we have been on a steady climb in terms of performances. We have steadily been improving. You just don't want to be facing a lot of very good teams in the moments when you feel as though things are actually starting to pull themselves together. And to lose the way we did against Arsenal was an absolute sickener. I do worry about what that's going to do to the players' mentality, because it's the 3rd time this season we've been 2 goals up and not got any points, and that's just a recipe for disaster and relegation. Are
you happy with the Gary O'Neill getting the permanent job to the end of the season? Because I think his record when he was caretaker was decent. It struggled a bit since he's been made permanent, but I mean that's also sometimes the run of fixtures you have. But obviously, I gather from our conversations, you're quite glad Scott Parker has gone. Which, by the way, he's also been sacked again from a Champions League club, which is just the funniest thing I've ever seen. I generally thought it was a joke when they said Club Brugge manager Scott Parker. I thought someone was on the wine.
Yeah. It's actually kind of a shame that they didn't let go of him sort of like a couple of weeks earlier, because he may well have got the Watford job and he could have made it 3 sackings in a season.
Oh yeah, because Watford love a sacker, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. They're brought in Chris Wilder. I feel sorry for Chris Wilder because he's a good manager, but he'll be gone before the end of the year, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But I think it started well under Gary O'Neill, because we went on a 6 or 7 game unbeaten run. We had the longest unbeaten run in the league for a period after the first sort of set of games under Gary O'Neill. But then we lost 1-0 against Southampton, and it basically all started falling very quickly downhill from there, because we just couldn't see what he was doing. And then we had games like we were 3-1 up against away at Leeds, and we lost that 4-3. We were 2-0 up at home to Spurs, and we lost that 3-2. Some awful games. We absolutely thrashed Everton twice within the space of half a week, which was great. But
to be fair, that was a great week. We all enjoyed that week.
Yeah, 4-1 in the cup and 4-1 in the cup and 3-0 in the league was fantastic. But then we gave the fans gave him a massive reception at the end of that 3-0 victory against Everton as a thank you. And it seems as though the board really couldn't get Bielsa over the line, and thought, the fans have given him a great reception. They obviously want him to stick around. Let's give him till the end of the season. And no one was after it. No one wanted him to stick around because we were just like, okay, he's good, but we need someone with experience. You can't fight the relegation battle that we're in and then not out. Dom Slanky is available, I'm pretty sure. Kev, he started the last game. I don't think he's out, as far as I'm aware. But and then it was terrible. He had a month and a half to prepare, and then it all just fell apart because we didn't have Solanke and we didn't have Marcus Tavernier. And without those 2 players, he had no clue how he was going to basically score a goal. Since they've come back, or at least Solanke has, and we've brought some new players in, things have turned around a bit and we have improved. But given that he got the job, given that he wasn't sacked after those first 6 games, which were diabolically bad performances, and now that we're steadily improving, he will get to the end of the season. I don't have much faith that it's necessarily going to continue for us to stay up. The performances are necessarily going to turn around, because there's a lot of teams down there, and every one of them are picking up points here and there. And I do worry that at some point he's going to get found out to a lesser degree, greater or lesser degree, and he just doesn't have the experience as a manager, let alone in the Football League. I believe we're the only team in the top 4 divisions that doesn't have an assistant manager. We've got two first team coaches that are completely green behind the ears as well. Club legends in Tommy Elphick and Steve Cooper, but we could have brought in someone experienced as an assistant manager. Anyone to give him some voice in his ear, to sort of say, don't do that. Here's what I've done before. Something different. Maybe change this. Don't make this change now. Someone that's been there and done it. And he doesn't have any one of that in the club at the moment. And that has been the worry of ours for months. Things are turning around, but has it taken too long for us to really start getting ourselves into gear? And that's the worry at the moment.
Yeah. The Reclaimers put a note here for us, Luke, and it's a true fact, is will Liverpool score? Because history says no. Because I think after we had a 7-0 win over Palace a couple of years ago. Following game was 0-0. But we beat Palace 9-0, the famous 9-0 with the Aldridge one. Next game was a 1-1. And to be fair, after the Bournemouth game, we did beat Newcastle, but Crowley made hard work of it. So, in a weird way, I'm not to upset John again, but I actually think Bournemouth going 2-0 up was the best thing that could happen for Liverpool, because we've had a week off, so you can get out your system. But also, you're going, well, look what they did to Arsenal. They were 2-0 up against Arsenal. This is not a game we can go lightly. It's the whole half 12 away from home, which, let's be honest, has not been great.
No, it's not been great. And I do expect a couple of changes, with one eye looking towards midweek.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have that debate in a minute.
Yeah, because I see some changes. But yeah, it's going to be a tougher game than what people think, because I think a lot of people are going to go Bournemouth away. That's easy 3 points, but I expect it to be a really, really tough game. Because Bournemouth are fighting for points. Like, Bournemouth are like a point out, and then they're like out the bottom 3 or something like that.
Yeah,
like the relegation battle from 12th to where Palace is, to Bournemouth.
It's very tight. Yeah, it's really tight.
6 points. That is crazy. So whoever can string some wins together will get themselves out of trouble. But I think with Bournemouth, when they sacked Scott Parker and gave Gary O'Neill the job, so okay. It was good because it was the correct decision. And I was like, okay, Gary O'Neill was just going to be there to warm the chair whilst they get someone experienced came in. Now, when they appointed him permanently, I was a bit like, oh, are you just admitting defeat to going down? Because he hasn't really got pedigree of keeping anyone up. So it's a bit surprising that they didn't try to get someone that's used to keeping teams in the league, because at this rate, they've probably got the most least experienced manager in the relegation battle. And for me, they're looking like they're going straight back down unless they sack Gary O'Neill and get someone else in. But I don't know who you're going to get in at this short notice to keep you up.
Yeah, I sort of feel like if Bournemouth were going to get someone in, they needed to have done that a lot early. Because
I've got a name.
Don't be mean. No, they want an experienced manager.
Please no.
Everton.
Yeah, I think John's just basically said, I'd rather be relegated.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you feel. That's the kind of impact Frank Lampard has on things.
It's not that I'd rather. It's if he was there, we would anyway. So it's a lose-lose. Got Frank Lampard. No, definitely not. But yeah, no, I agree, Luke. Is that if we were going to bring in an experienced manager, it should have been over the World Cup break. And in the end, Dyche was there. I would have been really happy with Dyche, I think.
But you said Bielsa was the one they wanted. Was it Bielsa?
Yeah, it basically for seemingly it turned between, it was either Bielsa or O'Neill. That was it. That was basically it. And I think that if those were your two answers, I think you were asking the wrong question.
Yeah, you do think
because neither of those were the right call. really. I don't think either of those were the right call. But
Chris Wilder.
Bielsa would have probably been the better one, but it would have been very risky because Bielsa typically needs a pre-season to drill everyone into being able to run 10,000 miles off a sip of water for him. So it's.
But at least it would have been exciting to watch, though.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, there would have been way more 9-0s, but it would have been exciting, I'm sure.
I'm sure it takes out what you want, but yeah. But Luke, I'm going to go full Keith here. So when I was at the Liverpool game, did I mention I went?
Well, were you going to bring that up?
I was never so happy to get a text at 1 o'clock. Do you want a pair of tickets? It was amazing. I wasn't expecting that. I think we're starting to see that front three finally sort of click, which it takes time for a new front three to gel. Who knew it? Salah looks a really good player when he's got like a settled side around him. Who knew that?
No, surprising.
Yeah, it's surprising. That's it. Gakpo, though, I thought was excellent in that false nine row. It was a very good Bobby-like performance. Which I'll be honest,
yeah.
If
I think it even came out that Bobby's training him, making him watch what he does before he leaves in the summer. But I do expect changes, so I don't expect that front line to stay the same. I do expect probably one change.
We'll talk about Lads in a minute. Let's stick with the time at the moment. Come on. God, you're just wrecking the agenda, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Every show.
So I'm wrecking the agenda.
I know, but yeah, look, that's what we like to see. That's what was good to see, because I think that is building the best out of Núñez, because it allows him that bit more of a free reign and to cut.
Yeah, it does. I'm a little bit unsure where that is, like long term. Is he going to be a long-term winger? And if that's the case, where does that leave Jota, Diaz? But hey, I'm not the manager, so I don't get to.
There was a lot of interplay, which is quite nice to see. I think when Diaz is fit and you have Jota available, I suppose it also comes a little bit of horses for courses, which helps.
Yeah, because I can imagine, because you saw in the United game for the first Gakpo goal, Gakpo drifted out wide. He's comfortable out there because he played out wide for PSV. Let Núñez go in the middle. I think you're going to see a lot more of those two interchanging positions towards the back end of the season.
Which is what Manny
will be more comfortable out on the wing as well as being as the false nine.
Yeah, he's also dispelled some of the mess that he's not that quick, because he clearly is. And then the age-old question: why did you buy him? I think we saw.
Yeah, I was one of those people that were like, why did you get him?
But I'm also thinking with Klopp's times.
I'd happily eat humble pie. I'm happily eating humble pie.
But we've seen enough examples of Gini Wijnaldum was a winger / number 10. He never played deep position for Liverpool. He played centre mid. So sometimes with certain players, you're a bit like, just because they play that way for another club, different minds have different ways of doing it. I'm sure same at Bournemouth, the same at Tottenham. You'll sign a player that you think is going to play one position, and they end up playing the different position, which is perfect for your setup. So, but if it was me, I can only see one change from the 7-0, and I think the reason it's a change is because that muppet around the pitch and two-footed bloody Robertson, because who knew if you run a pitch with trainers on, you might fall over. And I thought Klopp was going to lynch him. The only change actually is Simicast coming in for Robbo, because there's such a big gap from 12:30 Saturday to 8 o'clock Wednesday. That's such a big gap for a rest. It's almost. I think that's more than enough. So I don't see why you would change it too much.
I can see probably a couple. The Robbo one, and maybe a change in midfield, or maybe a change up front. I just don't know. Maybe just a couple of just rotate the midfield a little bit, because I know Henderson, Fabinho, you don't want to be rinsing them, 3 games a week, 3 games a week, 3 games a week. So maybe buy Shetic in for one of them, maybe.
Possibly, it just makes it a very young midfield. And listen, maybe you have to do that. Maybe this might be a game where you see a Jones or a Milner. But if it was me, if Robbo's got a bit of a doubt over his ankle, I'd start Simicast, and I just try and start the same 11. Just keep the momentum going.
Wrap him up in cotton wool. Do not risk him.
Harry, how are you seeing this game? Sorry, I've realised we haven't actually spoken to you for 10 minutes.
It's all right. I think it's an interesting one. I mean, I think, Liverpool go into it, that 7-0 win against Man United, which I enjoyed, by the way. I'm not a massive fan of United. Players like Anthony and Fernandes get my nerves. So, thank you for doing that the way. As a Spurs fan going into that game, it was like, who do you want to win? Liverpool are catching us up. United, can we catch them? So it's a difficult one there. But whatever way you look at it, it was good to see Man United get thumped. And the likes of Bruno Fernandes looking very upset. But yeah, no, on the game, I think Liverpool go into it personally as favourites. Bournemouth go into it, tough run, but give them where credit is due against Arsenal personally. Again, I might be slightly biased, but I think they definitely deserve something out of that game. I mean, if you think, I think definitely the better team as well. John, I'm sure you agree. And even City, times in that first half, and I think they took the game to them in a way. And on another day, I watched the City highlights back. What was it, a week, 2 ago? And if they put one or two of their chances in the back of the net, it would have been a different game. So, but Bournemouth, for me, their massive problem is that I think there's the scoring, but they can't keep hold of their leads. And like you said, I think Gary O'Neill, that not having that experience in the Premier League is a big thing. But you've got to, I think, I can understand why Bournemouth, appointed him permanently, because he's on a good run, fantastic run. I mean, I can understand why he was appointed. I think he'll definitely survive to the end of the season. But sorry, John, I can't see Bournemouth staying up. I think you've got teams like Everton, Wolves, West Ham, which I can't see going down. Southampton start to pick up points. Forest
he's done
going down.
Luke, he's done it again.
I've done it again. I'm sorry, Everton, I can't see Everton going down.
Everton staying up.
Going down. They are going down.
And I'm going to do something else as well. People saying that Liverpool are back. I mean, they thumped Man United 7-0, but actually United team, they gave up in the second half. I don't think Liverpool are back. They had a very good performance against the United team that came back. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if they get top 4 or not. I think right now you're in a better position than us to get top 4. You've got the games in hand. You've got the game in hand. And you've started to get the points on the board. And going back to Bournemouth, I think Bournemouth should have a lot more points on the board. They should have held on to, I hate to admit it as a Spurs fan, but you should have beaten us, right? That first half, all over us. Although we were all over you in a way in that second half, I think overall you offered more. And if it wasn't for Bentancur, I mean, you definitely would have won that game. Same with Arsenal. So Bournemouth should have more points on the board. But yeah, I can see them going down. But yeah, I'm sorry to say, but I don't think Liverpool are back.
Okay. What score are you going to predict? What score are you going to predict now, Harry? You're going to put like 2-0.
No, I'm going to go. No. I'm going to go. I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool, but I don't think it'd be easy for Liverpool. I think that the difference in the game, I think, will be Liverpool will be clinical and Bournemouth will they will create chances, but again, I think they failed to put them in the back of the net, which I think, as I said, partly against City let them down. I just think, Liverpool right now, they're in form coming into that game against Man United, and I just think be very, very clinical. But I think, Bournemouth will give them a game.
Good. Luke, John, I mean, listen, I agree with Harry. I don't think this will be what some people are thinking. I think this will be a difficult game. A half-12s are always a ball like in a game anyway. They're never great fun. John, what were you going to comment on what we said in your show last night?
I went back and forth in my head because I actually hadn't thought of when Kirk asked me for my prediction. I hadn't thought of it at all up until that point. I am tentatively being optimistic because at the moment Bournemouth haven't got a single point against the Big Six side this season, which is another one of the reasons why we are very much favourites to go down. If it goes, it's not going to be anything like the Arsenal game because we're not going to score that early, I don't think. If it's more like the City game, City got their little bit of luck that helped them get their first couple of goals, and then it was very difficult from then on. I think that there will be a late goal, either, and I think it'd be 1-1, and I think either will have held on for ages and you'll grab a point, or will have just somehow get something somewhere later on. But that's being incredibly optimistic. I would say that the one thing I do think that there is a way I could see this becoming a cricket score again for Liverpool, and that's Darwin Núñez on the left, particularly with Gakpo sort of liking to pull left as well. Darwin Núñez against Adam Smith is one hell of a mismatch. My God, he will get destroyed. So I think that if Adam Smith plays at right back, I'm going to be quite worried. But I think if as much as I don't think he's been brilliant this season, I think if O'Neill is sensible, he'll put Ryan Fredericks on the right to at least have someone that's got the pace to match Núñez, not necessarily the physicality, but certainly the pace. And then you might see Adam Smith go to left back to try and deal with Salah, which again isn't great either. But although John Zamora has done a really good job of left back this season. It's I could still see this being a big score. I really could if the right situation happens, but I wouldn't be a Bournemouth fan if I wasn't optimistic to some extent, and I am sticking with a 1-1.
Okay. Luke, Avo's gone mentally. He's gone 1-0 Liverpool, and he's got a penalty. I don't know what they are, mate. We don't see.
We haven't won all season. We haven't had a single penalty all season. So
neither are we. We're really? I think April. Yeah, if it gets to April.
Was our last
penalty. April last year was the last time we had a Premier League penalty. Yeah. So Harry Kane is. I think we went through the same 2 years where Harry Kane had more penalties at Anfield than Liverpool. That we don't seem to get penalties in the Premier League at the moment. It's the way it's going. Hansen's nicked my score of
mine was different to yours.
3-1. So we'll go with that. Luke, go on then.
2-0.
What? 2-0.
2-0. It's not going to be like 2-0 comfortable. It's gonna be like
I know the 2-0 you mean. The one where the second is quite late.
1-0 and then Liverpool just seal it at the end, and I'll be like, my blood pressure can go all the way down again. I think this is more important than the United game. I know the United game was fun. 7-0. I had the jokes buying some 7-ups for some of my colleagues at work, including my team leader as well. That was hilarious.
But you've got to back it up. That's the key, isn't it? Backing it up.
But now you've got to back it up with Bournemouth, because if we don't pick up 3 points, it's great. But we've not kicked on. Now we need to kick on, because the run afterwards, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, could define with not Liverpool finishing.
Mate, that's 9 points. Nothing to worry about there. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Honest. I might believe that 1 point, but maybe not. So who's your goal? Go on, you know the rules then. Who's your goal scorers, Luke?
Salah and Nunes.
Cool. I'll go 3-1. So I've just said all the front three will score. And we're gonna say for Bournemouth.
Tom Solanke.
No, that's too obvious. I'm trying to think of someone else.
Philip Billing,
that'll do.
Oh, yeah,
Philip Billing for a set piece, because I still think that's an area we need to be better at. We did the best last few games, but I still think set pieces is still an area we've just been sloppy since Brentford away. It hasn't quite clicked, but I hope Canati plays, because I think that makes Virgil a bit more relaxed, and I think it gives us that bit of extra pace around the back line, which I think is what we need. So cool. Right. So before we go, Harry, where can everyone find you?
Thank you very much. Pleasure to come on, by the way. Thank you for having me. You can find me every Saturday, 11 a.m. on Park Lane Podcast with Winnie, with Luke, with Dave. It's great to be on there. Also, the founder of Scarfe Spurs Talk, like a fan channel, independent hub on all socials. YouTube is what I'm currently working on right now. You can find me, my Twitter handles there, Harry Scarfe 22 as well on Twitter. Often moaning about Spurs, but no, I produce lots of content. I've got plenty more coming. But make sure to check out Park Lane Podcast every Saturday. So we're going live tomorrow, 11 a.m. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to say as well. So thank you for having me on.
That's not a problem. And John, where can everyone find you?
So I'm one of the regular contributors for Cherries Red Army, which, that full one right there. We are pretty much exclusively on YouTube, but we do have an Instagram account as well that we post stuff to. You get previews every week. We tend to do a review of some description, whether it's a short or a longer video. I put the occasional one out on my own, which is more of a sort of stats-based one, although I did put out one yesterday, which was more of a tactical look at where we went wrong for the goals against Arsenal. Or if you fancy listening to me personally, my Twitter handle is @JohnSpark, that one there, and then add an AFCB on the end of it. All you'll get from me is football on that handle. I literally don't talk about anything else on there. So if you want a bit of a Cherries view, there's me as well. But Cherries Red Army is the regular channel.
Yeah, and I did a spot on your guys' show yesterday. So we did like a 20-minute preview as well. So you check it out. It was good. And before we go, John, I'm sure you still got the answers. And this won't go for the chat. Luke, quiet, because I know you know the answer. In the current Liverpool squad and Bournemouth squad, there are still 6 players playing who played the last time Bournemouth beat Liverpool 4-3. Can you name the players? There are 2 Bournemouth players and 4 Liverpool players. And they were in the match day squads. So they may So give you a couple of minutes because it was a good quiz question actually. I think between you and me, John, we got 4. I think Luke got 4 as well. So we'll just see what everyone else comes out with there. I'll give them a couple of minutes. Luke, anything you need to pass on before we go?
Well, if you want to catch the watch on me and Callum did last week, I think it was last weekend, UFC 285, then it's on the Sanderson show. And plus, I did a review on my own personal channel, which is just my name, Luke Tanner. But next week, preview for UFC 286 in London. And the watch on will be on the weekend. And it won't be at 3 a.m. in the morning because it's UK prime time. So
that's good. You won't like this opinion. I thought the big fight was really disappointing.
What the heavyweight one?
Yeah, but I thought the fight was really overhyped and really disappointing.
I thought he
he quite literally choked, didn't he? He choked him out. That was the game, isn't it? But yeah, I saw all the hype around. I was going, yeah, it's quite a disappointing fight. Though.
He's got a wrestler. Ngannou wrestled him. Jones is going to grab his neck. Bang, done. Quick as that.
That's the one to see. Laszlo has got the one that me and John could not get, which was Junior Stanislas, because I'll be fair,
totally forgot about it.
Yeah, John forgot. I forgot he played. So that was that.
He's even a footballer.
Yeah. So the other Bournemouth player was Smith, isn't it?
Adam Smith. Yeah, I think was the easiest one.
That was the easiest one. And then the Liverpool players, 2 of them were easy. Henderson and Milner kind of makes sense. Bobby Firmino's the other one, and the last one was Trent. I genuinely forgot Trent was playing that far back.
He was in the bench for that game. He started on the bench. He was just starting to come through, I think, at that point, because that was a few years ago.
Jonathan put the one I thought was just Matip, but Matip wasn't in the matchday squad that day, which surprised me because we had to go back and check. I was like, oh yeah, he was injured. I think it might have been Lovren and Clavin, which might have explained possibly why we could see before. But
I think it was more the goalkeeper, to be fair.
Yeah, we don't talk about him. He's like Voldemort. We don't talk about him. Bless him.
No.
Well, listen.
Bless him.
John, Harry, thanks very much for coming on. I'm sure we'll have you guys on again very, very soon. Luke, I'm sure you'll be here next week because you're the constant. So tomorrow we've got Full-Time Reds, which will be Emmett and Matt. So they'll be talking about the Bournemouth result. Hopefully Liverpool win. And then on Sunday, back to normal. It's Fat Back Four with Gav and the guys. And then just keep an eye out. We'll do the loop all over again. Until then, take care. Speak to you all very soon.